Hey everybody, so here to talk to you about the recent change in the age requirement to be able to buy tobacco products. There's this law called the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act, and that was amended when the new $1.4 trillion budget was signed into law on December 20th. There was a provision in it that included amending this law. All they had to do was change the age from 18 to 21. So they were not creating a new law, which is more red tape. They were just amending an existing law so it could take effect immediately. Which it did. So starting on December 20th, a week ago, it became law right away that if you want to buy any kind of tobacco product, including e-cigarettes and those vaporized whatever, you have to be 21 years old. Some people will say, oh, you know, when the age was 18, you still saw high schoolers smoking, and most of them are below 18. Yeah, well, they had friends that were above 18 that were 18 or higher that could buy for them. And I think, you know, this is gonna get it more out of reach to bump it up to 21. And most people that start smoking are going to start below the age of 21. So this is really, it should be interesting to see how the statistics work out, but this should really help cut back on smoking and start lowering the rates. So I looked on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website, otherwise known as the CDC. And so I'll read off some stuff I got from their website. They say cigarette smoking is the leading cause of death in the U.S. 480,000 deaths each year, or 1 in 5 deaths are related to smoking. In 2018, almost 14 of every 100 U.S. adults 18 years or older, 13.7% was the actual percentage. So 13.7% of U.S. adults 18 years or older were active smokers. 34.2 million adults in the U.S. currently smoke cigarettes, and more than 16 million Americans live with a smoking-related disease. Now, on the topic of youth and tobacco use, if current trends continue, 5.6 million of today's Americans younger than 18 will die early from a smoking-related illness. Those are pretty bad numbers, I would say. Preventing tobacco use in the country's youth is key to ending the tobacco epidemic. I remember when I was growing up in convenience stores, they used to have the racks of cigarettes on the counters. And there was more to it than just having them there. It came out years later that the tobacco companies would actually pay convenience stores to put the racks of cigarettes right on the counter so kids could steal them. They wanted kids to be able to steal them and get hooked. They knew they were going to lose a lot of product, but they were hooking their next generation of customers, and they knew. And back then the age was still, you know, it was 18, and they knew most smokers start before 18, so they need to hook the smokers. So they had those racks set out there so kids could steal cigarettes. Of course that changed, and then retailers were forced to put them behind the counter. Sometimes you see them reaching up here somewhere on a shelf or down below, but they're secure now. Now, tobacco product use started and established primarily during adolescence. This is on the CDC website still. So like I say, the tobacco use, the majority of it started during adolescence. Nearly 9 out of 10 cigarette smokers first try a cigarette before 18. So 90% of cigarette smokers start before 18. Now 1,600 youth under the age of 18 years of age smoke their first cigarette, and and this is every day in the U.S. Each day. And then also each day in the U.S., nearly 200 youth under 18 years of age become daily smokers. Now, flavoring in tobacco is appealing to youth. In 2018, 67% of high school smokers and 49% of middle school smokers reported using a flavored tobacco product in the previous 30 days of the survey. Recent increases in the use of e-cigarettes is driving increases in tobacco product use among the youth. In 2018, 3.6 million middle and high school students use e-cigarettes. In 2019, this year that's about to end, that number was 5.4 million, and that's an increase over last year of 50%. From 3.6 million to 5.4 million. Again, that's a 50% increase. E-cigarette use among youth is rising as e-cigarette advertising grows. So there's a correlation. As the advertising dollars increase, so does the use of e-cigarettes by the youth. In 2011, spending on ads were $6.4 million. And just 3 years later, in 2014, it was $115 million. So, that was 5 years ago. So just imagine what it is today. They didn't have that statistic. Now, the Surgeon General report of 2014 included a 50-year study. There was a study started in 1964, and so they concluded a 50-year study in 2014. Now here, in conclusion of that study, they listed some of the cancers caused by smoking. And I'll list those cancers now. There's oropharynx, larynx cancer, esophageal cancer, trachea, bronchus, and lung cancer, acute myeloid leukemia, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, kidney and ureter cancer, cervix cancer, bladder cancer, and colorectal cancer. Again, those are some of the cancers caused. Now, it's bad enough to get one cancer, but you could just, smoking affects every tissue of the body. So you could be getting all kinds of ailments at the same time. You're not just going to get one, you could get several. Now, here are some of the chronic diseases from the study that this study says are caused by smoking. Stroke, blindness and through cataracts and macular degeneration. Maternal smoking causes congenital defects and orofacial defects or clefts. Periodontitis, aortic aneurysm, early abdominal aortic atherosclerosis. Some of these words are hard, but atherosclerosis in young adults, coronary heart disease, pneumonia, atherosclerotic peripheral vascular disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, tuberculosis, asthma, diabetes, reduced fertility in women, hip fractures, ectopic pregnancy, rheumatoid arthritis, immune function, and overall diminished health. Now, here's what you can get from being exposed to secondhand smoke. If you're a non-smoker, you can get this from secondhand smoke. In children, when children are exposed to secondhand smoke, they can get middle ear disease, respiratory symptoms including impaired lung function, lower respiratory illness, and sudden infant death syndrome. And in adults could have a stroke, nasal irritation, lung cancer, coronary heart disease, reproductive effects in women, including low birth weight in their babies. Now, on that topic of secondhand smoke, when I worked at the Broadmoor years ago, there was this nice gentleman, and used to talk to him all the time. Really cool. I guess I better not say his name. He may not even be around now. But one day, and he was probably in his 70s, I guess, at the time, and one day he came up in his car and he had oxygen tubes and a tank. And I was talking to him, I go, wow, I didn't know you were a smoker. Well, first I think he had said he had emphysema. And I go, wow, I didn't know you were a smoker. And he goes, I never smoked a cigarette in my life, but he goes, I flew on airplanes for 30 years, back when smoking was allowed, and his doctor told him that's what caused it. And so, yeah, this guy's health was destroyed and his lifespan shortened because of others smoking around him. So fortunately, there's a lot of laws that have been changed. Like here in Colorado, you can't smoke indoors. But I remember before it went statewide years ago in the city of Pueblo, they did a smoking ban, indoor public areas, and after a year, heart attack rates reported by the hospitals, the heart attack rates dropped by 50%. That should tell you something about smoking. So again, I'm really happy that they changed the law nationwide, because I think it's going to have a good effect with, being required to be 21 years old to be able to buy any tobacco-related products. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I guarantee you smoking rates are going to drop over the next year. I mean, they have to. And also the cost to our country, billions and billions, and I mean, it's 150, $200 billion a year. Just think of the percentage of hospital beds that are occupied by people in there because of smoking-related illnesses. So this is a win-win situation for everyone, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So I guess that's all I have for now, and have a good night.